Well, there's no doubt this is one of the most anticipated NBL seasons in history. It's huge on a number of levels, but most notably for the Sydney Kings. The legendary coach Brian Goorjian, a three-time champion with the Kings previously, is back to coach the team for season 2024-25, and I'm happy to say we've got him on the program today. How are you, Brian?
I'm great.
All right. Excellent. There's lots to talk about with you because you've had a fair bit going on over the last couple of months. But first of all, what's it like being back in the Harbour City?
It's a dream come true, really. Experiencing that, those championships, coming to Sydney, and they were rock bottom, and building something I felt was special for long term. And then, I felt at that time, honestly, like I was going to finish my career with the Kings, that was going to be it. And then, we had the situation where off the floor and gone, and then went through a lot of things, basketball wise, a lot of different countries, and then came back after COVID and got settled in with the national team and wanted to come back to the NBL, and was looking for a team that needed me, that was on, needed a rebuild. I didn't want to go somewhere that, like a Perth that was there, something to build, and never thought for a million years it would be the Kings. But as the season unfolded and as it finished, got a call from Luke Longley, and I was immediately, after you've been in the game for a period of time, I'm in the situation where I can take what I want, and so this, soon as the name, because it was out of the blue, and it excited me. And now that I've actually done it, you come back. I had a little taste of it before I went to the Olympics, and excitement there. Back, I understand, and being back in Sydney, how wonderful it is, and now coming back after the Olympic campaign and getting into the grind. One, being back into the NBL. It's an exciting time for the game, and two, where the Kings are at and the opportunity to build it, and three, now I've got my team there and starting to run around and see what, it's my fingertips. I'm excited about the whole picture.
What has changed in the 16 years since you're at the Sydney Kings, which seems an extraordinary amount of time when you say it that quickly, and what's different?
Well, I just think the big thing is just the state of basketball, just the interest. I remember, coming to Sydney, and where are the stadiums, where are the kids playing, where, in the interest level and the understanding of basketball coming from Victoria was, I felt, very low. And, I had 7 good players, but even to get 10 to scrimmage against, it was hard. It was hard to find. In Victoria, you'd have 20 guys there, and they could all play a decent brand of basketball. So the basketball side has just the range, the people interested in the game, the people playing the game, and then two, just what Paul Smith, what Luke Longley Bogut, what they've done off the floor with the franchise, and what Larry Kesselman's done with the league. You just, being on, those last few years, the Kings, is the check going to be there, or is the team okay? Or how many people? I'd send my assistant coach up on Wednesday night, Hawaiian night, or what, everybody wear a Hawaiian shirt, and he'd, there's nobody here. We're 27-3. We won 3 championships in a row. We're playing on Wednesday night. There's no one there, and you're worried constantly. That pressure, is the club going to survive? So you come into this now, and there's a security there. It's in the league's in a strong hand. The Kings are in a strong hand, and the last attraction to this now is that you're with a franchise that is about championships. And those areas were not at this level when I came back, when I came the first time.
Kudos Bank Arena, fabulous arena, near sellouts at different stages over the course of the last 3 years. In fact, sellouts for some of the grand final series, record crowds, average crowds, etc. A success, as you mentioned, new ownership, but a level of expectation too because of that success. You strike me as the type of guy that's not concerned about that, not daunted by that expectation of success.
One iota.
No.
I mean, it's I mean, look where I've been. With you're
Yeah.
playing the dream team, and this country's expecting you better win that one. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, to the alternative, the little engine that could. You come here at this stage. I want the expectation to win championships. I want the organization to be about winning championships and build something that consistently has the ability to do that. And again, you're in Sydney. You know, this is what this is, and the pressure, the expectations, the goals, the standards. I love that part of it.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you about some of the existing squad that we've seen and a lot of Sydney fans love. Okay, I'm talking about guys like Jalen Adams, Quat Noy, Sean Bruce, Alex Tui. When I tell you those names, what do you see?
Well, I mean, they're all different. You know,
Yeah.
Sean Bruce, you play against him, and he's a tough sucker. You know,
He's
and
a talker, right?
and a talk. but when it's a guy. When I was with the Hawks, you wanted to send a guy out and take his legs out. Now he's with you, and you go, like all of these guys and what they do when you're with them, it's at an incredible level. And he's a piece that we've got a lot of new young ones.
Yep.
We've got the ones that you named before are guys that are on a march to be. An NBA player, Tui, a national player, and he is going to really help in those guys becoming the best they can be and driving the standards. And he's also a guy that I can communicate with comfortably about the group. How am I doing? I'm new here. What's the feel here? What do I need to do? So the discussions with him have been who I've talked to the most in returning back. And then, the Noy, Tui, we've got Kelly, we've got Tyler. I come in the gym and go, wow. And I've just come from an international stage, and you look and what I see as far as myself, and there's a responsibility here. These kids could be very good players, and I have a responsibility here now. We got to win for the organization, but two, there's got to be a heavy level on skill development, and them that they could be national players. They could represent our country. Yep. So that they're not maxed out guys. They're guys and they've come here for that reason. So the winning's in the picking. We brought a lot of new ones, the established ones there. We also had a say in keeping them. Yeah. We wanted Noy back. There was guys that we did not want back, and it was interesting. They did not want back. Wow. It was I'm who I am. It's what it was last year. I'm not into this. And then others were the fact that the staff that we were coming in, there was an interest there, the direction of it, and a love for the Kings. So the guys that you mentioned there, and I put Bruce over to that one, and then Xavier Cooks. I know there's, he's just. That was one of the. That was.
Why don't we say that? Like, how was that? Because that's heart-wrenching for Xavier. We spoke to him before he went down to your camp for the Boomers. And my expectation was, there's going to be a level of trust between coach and player because of the Sydney Kings. And then he didn't make that. Tell us how difficult that was, knowing that, one, you're not taking a player to the Olympics, which is heartbreaking in itself. But the second part of the puzzle is that you're then coaching him at club level.
Absolutely. Everyone, Matisse,
yes,
Gould, I said going in, the cuts are going to be brutal. But but the Xavier Cooks, when I went to recruit Xavier, I certainly recruited him knowing I'm the national coach and seeing him in my group. And I never thought for a minute when we were that Xavier, was not going to be a part of the Boomers. But I knew the cuts were going to be brutal, and I knew I was bringing 5 or 6 new pieces into this. But I just thought that his piece was solid. Soon as we got into camp, and sport, it's like people don't. it's not the 12 best players. You pick your 8. This is my 8 or 9. And now, what skills do you need in this position when you're playing with Jock Landell and you're playing with Giddy and you're playing, and the skill that was required, one of the most, it's a stretch 4 position. He's a better basketball player than a lot of the ones that I kept. But we needed this skill and this skill, and that's not his expertise. So as camp was going along, the whole time I wanted to stick my finger down my throat, because you can, this might happen, this might take place. And again, the 12th man or the what, but I have 4 assistants there, and NBA, it was unanimous. We've got to bring this guy in. He's an important piece, and that means this piece goes. So the fallout being, what am I coming back to? There's definitely going to be, he's a competitor, he's a winner, and when you're like that, you'd want to punch me in the face. That's what you would, I'm like, and I got to say this: when I did those cuts, and I made the brutal ones, it was brutal. With him, he shook my hand and said, it was, I could tell he was it was hard, but I understand this was difficult. And then, he went away. And when I came back, what am I dealing with? And it's, he's been incredible. Right. Just in the Bruce area, as far as leadership on the court, I walked in, looked me dead in the eye, shook my hands, kind of, let's go, coach. And I've kind of a vibe from him is, I don't need a discussion. I'm with the Kings, let's go. And more respect, and it's funny, the hurt is deeper, because of who he is and what he is, and how it moves forward, and disappointment and ups and downs of the season. But I couldn't be more fortunate that he's who he is for that to happen. And in my time in coaching, I've never had one like that, where it's it's cut one of my guys. And when people go at me about the selections, oh, this guy influenced you in that, point to this one, because that's my guy. And I had to go there. It's like cutting, it's like cutting a son. If you have to do it, you have to do it.
Well, and that, I reckon, as these athletes appreciate honesty. Maybe not immediately, but when they get a chance to reflect on it. If you're straight with them and if you give them the correct feedback in a correct manner, then they will respond to that. Sounds like Xavier has done that. I want to go back to Alex Tui. So he's an interesting one in that. What is your job with him this year? Is it to be the best player you can for the Kings? He's talked about as an NBA draft prospect, and they talked about that last year, and they think this year he'll be ready. Or is it to get him ready for the NBA? Paul Smith always talks about the NBL being an intersectional league, but how do you view a particular player like that?
Well, my job's to win, but in winning, I always figure it falls hand in hand. If I'm involved and Tui becomes a better player, becomes an NBA player, I got a better chance of winning. So I look at Tui and I look at him and go, that's my the responsibility is for us to win a championship and him to play in the NBA. And specifically, I've already identified he's got to come up with something that he does at that level. And right now I'm being, there's work to do. Because athletically, shooting wise, a skill, and he gets it. So that there's not something that makes him different yet, but he's elite in a lot of areas. But he's got to capture something, and to take him to the NBA. But I always evaluate, and I've only been here a week. Can you coach him? Yes. And what's his work ethic like? And it's how he's self-made to be where he is now. If those two things are missing, there's a question mark. And he's a 10 out of 10. I feel it right away. He's got those two skills.
What about for Sydney Kings fans, the new guys that are coming? So Jason Spurgeon, Cameron Oliver, who's been in the NBL previously, Tyler Robertson, Kelly Leapepe. Who do you think is going to create the most impact for the Sydney Kings and their fans this year?
Well, the one that's going to get the fans right away is Kelly.
Right.
He's a human fist fight. So it's I mean, he can walk in a. I remember the first time I came here, and one of the rugby coaches said, come, I want you to, you've taken the Kings from this to this. I want you to come and talk to my team. And I walked into this room and I go, oh my God. He goes, Goorjian's going to talk to you about toughness. And I'm like, oh my God. But I look at Kelly, and it's like he belongs in that locker room. And he plays the game in a manner the fans are going to fall in love with. If there's a ball on the floor, he's the first one on it.
Yep.
If his teammate's down, he's got him and he's picking him up. He's got your back. And anything that involves effort, it's there. And if you walk in, I'm always the gene pool. He's unbelievably special there. So something that the fans are really going to be attracted to. And then we've got in that group that you've talked about, we've got a center, Spurgeon. We've got Tyler that can play multi-purpose, and they're all like Tui. They're young and they're going to grow and develop with the Kings, and we've got them on long-term contracts. So around Xavier, Jalen, we've got Bruce, we've got that 3 or 4 that are experienced and are going to lead the way. So whatever we are this year, the growth with those guys, because they're 22 years old, they're going to get better.
How do you work about for a season? We talked about the expectation, and when it comes to goal setting, is it be better, or is it you actual put, hey, we want to be the championship side this year? How does that work for you?
When I first come into the, I keep my mouth shut for a minute. Like I have the guys kind of running things now, and I stand over the top. And what I try to do is in the first week or so, let them get an idea what this is going to be, and then they get a feel for it. And now, I think culture is the doing. It talks, all the things on the wall when you first come in, we're going to do this, we're going to be that. It's like, okay, man, it's 5-on-4, 2 dribbles, no fouls. How we're running practice would be a little bit different. Now we get up to Newcastle, here's the standards, here's where we're taking the standards and drive those standards. And a guy like Bruce is taken to this, and Xavier. Now you get those 2 guys, and you're dealing with them, and and right now, to me, again, I'm trying to how we practice, how we do the day to day, put that at a level that that's uncomfortable, and keep driving that. Not talk about championships, not talking about what we're going to do, every guy that comes, I'm going to change the culture. It's going to be a new culture. Here's the day to day. And to me, it affects everything. Oh, they drink at night. They go and they do this at night. No, they don't. Not if they got to be in the weight room at 7:30 and you're standing right over on the bar saying another one. And now you're in the gym and it's a track meet. Okay, if they're drinking, they're pretty damn good, because they'd be spilling all over the floor. So right now, I'm in that process. And then we get up to Newcastle, there'll be more communication there, but I'm not, we're going to win the championship. It's more about right now establishing the day-to-day grind and, as you said, the development aspect.
Are you happy, 4 weeks out from first game, are you happy with where the squad's at the moment?
It's you always feel like it's behind, but it's. I was away with the national team. I'm happy with what went on while I was away. I'm happy with my group. I feel like we might come out of the blocks and get slapped a little bit, but I like my team, and I feel good about what we can build.
All right, let's go to Paris 2024. And based on what happened previously in Tokyo, there's probably a level of disappointment from Australian basketball fans, and maybe you've felt that. But overall, how would you sum up the Boomers' performances in Paris?
Well, one is that's by far the best. In talking to the other coaches and the people in there, and I don't think that's promoted. They keep talking. This is the best team that you, and I'm not making excuses. I'm
Sure.
talking facts. That's the best basketball tournament that I've ever been a part of.
Wow.
And not even close.
Yeah.
And so when you say going into it, it's can you get through the pool of death? Everyone's talking about in it. The cuts. The cuts are going to be brutal. No one wanted to hear about the cuts.
Yeah.
You get into the pool of death, and it's like you come out of it in second place. And this tournament's done different now. You only play a couple games,
Yeah.
and now, you know, Spain, our nemesis, is gone home.
Yeah.
You know, South Sudan, Japan, you know, they're out. Now you're over, and this thing always. And when I'm gone, the next one, the one after that, the one after that, you're going to go across, and in the quarterfinal, you are going to play an elite. We knew right from the start we're either playing Team USA, or we're going to play Serbia.
Yeah.
All right. So Serbia won the silver at the World Cup without the Joker.
Right.
So,
right.
you know, that's the second best team in the world. When you get in there, I don't care go back in history on this, that game, if Australia's doing what they should, you're in a fist fight.
Yep.
And we were in a fist fight. We took that thing to overtime, and we lost. And now I feel like Josh Green, Giddey, Daniels, 3 starters that are under 24, 22, yep. 23. The future's bright moving forward with them. There's some things that I think are going to need to take place, but and I know but when we finished the bronze medal, it wasn't okay now gold medal. Hopefully, but it's like it starts again.
Yeah.
Those guys, it works in 4-year cycles. That was a 12-year build.
Yeah.
A shit show. Three Olympic when I started in Athens.
Yep.
Sydney, they all played together. We rebuilt it. Not very good. The quarterfinal game, we lost by 30 but we got to the quarterfinal game and lost to USA by 30. Brett Brown took over, played Serbia, lost by 30. Then Lamanis, now you're up into that top 4,
yeah.
and we break through, and now that's a long period of time. Those guys are gone.
Yeah.
Now you're introducing the new ones. Those teams that we used to throw punches with, Lithuania's not there anymore. Spain wasn't there anymore. Argentina isn't there anymore. We're still up there. And we were right there, a basket away from winning that thing in regulation. Our downfall, and the thing that you're getting criticized for, the selection's 1. Number 2 is style of play.
Yeah.
And the style of play is, I feel like we went into that game and we put a glove on them, and we touched these guys. The alternative was to play half court and play their game. We touched them, and they knew we were there. The negative with it is when you play like that, throwing the ball away. That was the concern the whole way through. Can we do it? And you have 20 turnovers against Serbia, you ain't winning. And we played at pace, but we had a downfall.
Sure.
And that was it. And with that, we had 2 very, very, very young guards that are going to get better for the performance. So did we want to do better? Yes. And I always say, come back, and everyone had their opinion. I don't come back here and feel like we addressed some things after the World Cup that were really important. And I think when we came out of the World Cup, going back to Andrew Gaze and Shane Heal, shirt front and Barkley, Australians are getting NBA contracts, they're getting college basketball because they have a reputation of having grit, being good teammates, and tough as nails. When we went to the World Cup, there was a problem there. We introduced all the NBA players. We brought this in. Those guys are gone. We started anew. We didn't, that was gone. That wasn't there. So when we put this team together after that, that is going to be addressed. And when you flip on the Serbia game, or if you ask the Serbia coach, did they have a dip? We were Aussies. We played tough. We fought tooth and nail. We had a great team spirit. The bench was alive. It was not like that at the World Cup.
Right.
So some things were addressed, put in place with this new group after the disappointment of the World Cup, and I think that got done.
Twice in that game you led by 24. How often do you wake up at night thinking about that situation or those situations, about what could have been?
I looked up at the clock. You've played, it's football or any sport. You're 60 points up in AFL, and there's, you're in the fourth quarter. You're feeling pretty damn good. You're playing them. You're 24 points up. I'm looking, holy shit. We made 20 of our first 25 shots.
Right, yeah.
There's 8 minutes to go in the second quarter. And I'm going, there's too much game. We're not beating this team by 60. And what eats my heart out, it is the foul, the 3-point shooter when there's 1 second left on the shot clock, the missed block out, the behind the back bounce pass on the 3-on-1 fast break. When we were playing with, now we've cut this game down to 2 minutes and we've got a 2-point lead. Shit, we're now, if we're good, now I watch that last 2 minutes and I walk up and I want to throw the furniture out of the that's what eats me. But people, it's the biggest comeback of the game afterwards. Serbia was up 17 points in the fourth quarter against Team USA and lost.
Yeah.
All right, we were up 12 points at halftime. It wasn't like we just blew it down. There was a grind over a period. They cut it to 17. They cut it to 12. They cut it to 5. They went up 4. Then you think they're going to go away from us and kill us. We stayed in. There was 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. They went up 4. They're walking away from us. We came back, fought them, stayed in there, and had a chance to win.
Explain the difference to me and to the listeners about the rules that are played at the Olympics compared to the rules that we know in the NBL and the NBA, because you were saying earlier that has a significant impact on the style of game, and especially the response from the players.
I think you know where you stand at the Olympics, and that's why. And I say this and I don't want to go at the NBL. I'm coming back into this. I mean, we have a beautiful game, and the refereeing, if there was a frustration with it that you don't have, I don't feel like you have at the international deal, is you know where you stand. So example, you've got the ball and you drive it to the basket. If I put my chest, you tell the players, put your chest on them. I don't care if it's Kevin Durant. I don't care if it's a joker. You put your chest on them, show the referees your hand. It's not a foul.
Yep.
If you reach in any form, whether you hit them or not, they can call a foul. In the NBL, it's not like that. It's discretion.
Right.
And so, in this, on the fast break, you can tackle a guy, and it's side ball. In ours, the referee's got to determine, was that intentional or was that, and so the game, it's side ball and in. It's not 2 free throws every time the other team gets the ball, go to the video monitor. So I get a lot of feedback that, I enjoyed it. Why didn't you enjoy it? We shot 6 free throws. They shot 15.
Yeah.
NBL game, it's 30 to 27 sometimes.
Yep.
So my feedback to the NBL and to, is that when you get NBL players in it, they come in, you've got to go through, when you get them into practice, you got to explain, you can't do that. You can't jump in, throw the ball up and yell, ugh, and now it's 5-on-4 the other way.
Yeah.
So there's an education for the NBL players when they come in and play that game. And I find that game more physical, more allowed. less whistle, and very, very consistent on what you can and can't do. And again, I've been away from this now, so I'm not. I love the NBL and I enjoy it. But as far as coaching in it, I love that international game. From that, I've never got a technical. I don't get in an argument.
Yep.
You can, hey coach, he didn't show his hands. His hands are down in there. Got to call it.
Right.
It's
Accept that.
Again, and I've tried to feed that back, and it's part of my job. I feel like when you do that, what do you like, what don't you like, and we are trying. The NBL, part of their job, we want to develop these players to be. It's an extension. I had NBL players play ahead of NBA players because the NBL now is a high standard, and some of them are more well-rounded in the international game, and some of the NBA players have a specific skill that they do for the NBA. So we had 3 or 4 NBL players make this. So the league's doing a good job. That side that you just asked is an important aspect to help the Boomers.
Which players enhanced their reputation? Jock Landale was such a focal point for the team throughout the tournament. Josh Giddey feels like it's his team now, and the passing of the guard there with Paddy Mills. Who in
a
your
lot
mind?
of the without it, there's a lot of good. Paddy Mills was, how's he going to age? He hasn't lost a thing.
Yeah.
Honest to God, he has not lost a thing. And when you see him physically, and when you watch him at practice, I remember the first time I saw him and had him with the boom, I said, his shoes squeak. It's the same dude.
Right.
He has not lost a thing, which is amazing for that age. But when you watch him, he's what he eats, how he works out, he is an incredible study. But the two for me, some guys I know were here and had tournaments that were tough for them.
Yep.
And then a couple came in and just rocked this thing. And Dyson Daniels, when you talk about the brutal cuts, that was the one. I brought him to the World Cup and left Delhi off. And I brought him in, and when we got to the first camp, I said, you're not going to play, but I want you to watch everything that goes on, every video session. I want you to train your butt off, and I'm bringing you because I think you got a chance when we go to the Olympics. And his season was his season when he came into camp, I didn't know how's it progressed. It was one day. It was the first day. We ran up and down. The coaches get aside. That kid's going to play a ton of time. We're going with that right from the word go. And then the other one was the Tasmanian kid, McVeigh.
Yeah.
It's just when I talked about, and it's not that those two were against each other. There was as far as the position, but they do play the same position. And McVeigh, our thing is perimeter shooting.
Yeah.
We got an issue there. He was a walking bucket, and he came into camp not happy to be in the camp, constantly looking over the shoulder. Are you seeing this? Are you watching what I'm doing? Because I'm going to kick butt. I'm coming in here to make this team. And every coach to a man, by the time we got through we went into the first game, and he had 19 points in 12 minutes or whatever. He's going to make it. And then when he went there, his role grew and grew and grew to when we were playing for the money, which was the Serbia game. He played 30 minutes.
Wow.
And he was decisive in, he scored the ball in the half court, which was something that was difficult for us.
Actually, since he's made the team, I started following him on social media, right? I don't know whether you on his Instagram, and he talks about the hard lessons he had to learn, and then he's turned it around and he documents it. So it's a really cool story about how he had to take ownership of his outcomes. Didn't stop blaming everyone else. So it's great to see that he's had that progress.
He's. I remember when I started in the sport, we had a guy that was on the cover of Wheaties, and he came into our high, and his theme was, he got up and started talking, and I was ordinary, not very good, and the message was, you can be anything that you want to be. If it's in your box, you choose to do. And this is what, and I was this, and I became this because there's no secret. Da da da. That's him.
Yeah.
It's like he was in. Oh, this guy's 6'10". This guy's 6. He gets on the court. He's fearless, and he thinks his development is totally within his control, and he feels like it too. I think he gets it, and he's just beginning the journey. And he was in Adelaide when I first came back. He wasn't in the scout. When you look at the scout, you don't bring him up. Then he goes to Tasmania.
Yeah.
Oh, he's pretty good. Now he's, oh my God. And now he comes to the national program, not the World Cup, not involved in anything, comes in cold and that's so rare that, he's only got a 3 or 4 day period to show.
Yeah.
And it's like, and again, I'm not with chicken feed. These are 2 NBA assistants on my staff. The coach is major Division I, and all of us we walk in the door and go, this is serious. This guy, surprised us.
Brian, you're 71 years of age this year. You've been coaching for a very long time. You've had incredible success. How long? Well, and what's the indicator for you? You still clearly have a love of the job, of the work.
100. All of that's true. That I know. I know when anyone talks to me, they can tell. I get to they go, God damn, you're in my grill. Get out of my face. And I've just come back from the Olympics.
Yeah.
But I guess I've been so fortunate. One, I'm just so appreciative of the country. And it's funny. I sound like this, but when I see the
Well, I've got written down you're an Australian-American basketball coach according to your Wikipedia page, and I was going to ask you, are you an Australian or are you an American basketball coach?
And I say that I'm an Aussie,
Yeah.
and my grandson's an Aussie, my daughter's an Aussie, and when it hit me the hardest is when you stand there and you're playing the dream team,
Yep.
and they play the American national anthem, and you look up and there's nothing. And then you play the Aussie one, and you grab Matty Nielsen's arm, and you grab David Patrick's arm, and you hug. These are my guys.
Yeah.
This is and I appreciate every single day the opportunity that this country has given me. It's an incredible story, and it is true that when I tell you about that guy had that message about, it's all in your control. And he picked up the ball and he said, if you're good to this, it'll take you places that you would not believe. Be good to it. Be good to it. And he'd been talking about work ethic and work. And I think, that basketball has taken me to Australia.
Yeah.
It introduced me to the Gaze family. Now that was never a goal of mine. It's totally out of my control. I just wanted to coach and do a good job. You become the national coach.
Yeah.
You travel all over the world, and you get an opportunity to give back to an appreciation to what everyone's done for you. And now I just love being active, being around the young. And I feel like I'm still learning. Like the young they're so incredible on the computer. They're so, the social, not the social media, but the stuff on the internet, the growing of ideas and the things they throw at you. So I feel like when that stops, the slide's going to be.
Yeah.
So you just want to keep growing and stay in it and stay active. So when that, and it's coming, I'm not Houdini, but it's gonna happen. But right now it's just my whole live in the day, live in the moment, and don't shortchange anybody. I don't want to be faking it.
Yep.
And I'm to thy own self be true. If there's any feeling of that, it's time, and I'll enjoy my time with the grandkids. But right now, I just had that experience, and everyone, how are you? Are you okay? I know it wasn't what you. Oh, sorry, man. Sorry. No, it was great, and it was, that emotion of I wish this would have happened, but man, I was involved in the best basketball tournament in the world. I got to, Yao, coach from Serbia, Kerr, the athletes, the competition, my group. was incredible. And then you come back, and now I get to coach the Kings.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I'm blessed. So the engine's running, the energy's there. But again, there'll be a time. But Wayne Bennett may be before me.
Hey, it doesn't feel like you're faking it, all right? Doesn't, and you're much younger than Wayne Bennett, all right? So you remember that. Do you remember the name of the guy who was on the? Because he sounds. Because my final question I want to ask you is, I coached the Camden Rams under-10 Reds, right? We had a tough season, but I basically got 3 rules, right? Enjoy yourself. I'm going to make sure that you're upskilled. I want you to have more skills than at the end of the season than when you started. Yeah. And this is a byproduct of both those things. I would love you to come back and play again next year. Right? They're the 3 things that I want out of a season.
That's so great.
Do you, if you were to talk to, and we've got a lot of people listening to this program that are coaches of their kids' teams, what would you say to them?
I've got a grandson.
Yep.
And he's not all over it at all, but he plays, and I tell my daughter, I want him to fall in love with the game.
Right.
I want him to fall in love with the game. So and I think, if I'm involved, I can help. So I know but you'll go to his deal, and I know my grandson. You go there and there's 20 kids, and there's 1 ball, and they're aligned, and they shoot, and that's not my grandson. He'll be pulling the other kid's pants down and the thing behind. There's got to be, and they hold the balls, I was so fortunate when I was young in the States that the difference here, when you're young, it's the father who's taken time, and it's not done through the schools. Where basketball, when I went out, there was 400 kids on the playground, and I was at 10 when you're in 5th grade make the team. The other 3, I always got asked, what do? They join the band. There's 10, and that's it.
Yeah.
But those 10 guys, I mean, the practice we got when we were young, I fell in love with the game. So everybody had a ball. He charted everything. Everything was competition, and skill, like you said, skill development. You're getting better. And I just feel like most kids, if it's done right, they will fall in love and come back. And that's the job of you with those. I feel that falls on, and I'm taking that, like you said, to my job with the Kings. Did Brian Goorjian do a good job when you go to Tui? Yeah. My dad had a great one, and I use it. He would, every team he coached for whatever, he'd put the picture of the team on his wall. And you go down and he goes, your national team, every one of those players will have their picture on the wall, their team picture, and your face is going to be sitting right there. When they look at that, what do they tell their kids?
Yeah.
What do they,
Yeah.
And he'd grab me by the shirt. I hope they tell him you were a man. And then he walked away from me. And I go, God, I mean, he always came, it wasn't about that guy's a good player or that guy, he's a doctor, he's a lawyer. That guy was a stud. He was a tough, it wasn't the guy, he had 40 points, but he had a bad attitude or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that message, I think about, and I've been very fortunate all the way through, and the stuff with the social media and all that, it's those are the people when I'm in the competition that I call. Those are the people that are calling me. Yeah. And that's again, try to stay out of that. It becomes more now than when I started in it, because you got that cesspool around you the whole time trying to drag you down, that no accountability, anybody can stay out of that. And I try to tell that with the players, that is important.
Brian Goorjian, welcome back to the Sydney Kings for season 24-25. Appreciate your time today.
Appreciate it.
There you go. Make sure you go online if you want to get a season ticket, sydneykings.com.au. I challenge you to listen to Coach Goorjian and not buy a season ticket.